Welcome, everyone. This is really quite an auspicious occasion, and to have so many important people here who have turned up and given of their time for the Birk family. Angela is already third-generation supporter of Hebrew University, and the previous Birk Prize winners are truly joining an illustrious list, and we have high hopes for you. So I'd like to turn this over to Professor Barak Medina to deliver opening remarks.
Okay, thank you, Faith. Hi, dear friends. It's great to be here with you. I wish we could meet in person, but I'm sure that we will be able to do that next year. As you all know, this annual ceremony that started about 28 years ago, if I'm not wrong, is a great opportunity for us at Hebrew University, along with the British Friends of Hebrew University, to remember these two exceptional people, Alma and Alice Birk. Baroness Alma, Lillian Wilson Birk, worked first as a prominent British journalist and then served as a Labour Party politician. She held several influential positions, including the position of Undersecretary for the Environment, and then became a minister in the British government. Alice Birk was a solicitor, and after serving in the British Army in the Second World War, he emerged as one of London's top legal brains, and then shifted his interest to journalism and media. And Alice became a figure of great influence in Old Fleet Street and television, and also served as the chair of the Jewish Welfare Fund board. Alma and Alice were both generous and devoted friends of the Hebrew University, and Alice served, among other positions, as chair of the British Friends of the Hebrew University. And
Thank you, Barak. I'd like to turn this over now to our...
No, I was just in the middle, something...
I'm sorry, I just saw you muted yourself. I'm sorry.
There was a problem here. I just wanted to say that it is not a coincidence that the prize that Alma and Alice established is awarded to young scholars in the two fields of agriculture and law. It's a clear hallmark of both Alice and Alma. Had this very wide range of interest that is also evident in this prize. Alma, the politician, chose to award the prize in the field of law, as she was deeply concerned with the effect of social policy and law. And Alice, the lawyer, but also an amateur gardener, chose to bequeath the prize in agriculture. And the idea to award the prize to young scholars in the Faculty of Agriculture, I think, has at least two additional reasons. First, as the Birks identified years ago, in modern times, the study of agriculture is primarily associated with environmental protection. And Alma, as Under Secretary of the Environment, deeply cared about these issues, which are today not only at the heart of our activities at the Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Environment, but also of humanity worldwide. And an important second reason for awarding the Birk Prize in the field of agriculture has to do with another exceptional person of this family that we all know, Professor Yehudit Birk. Yehudit, who was the sister-in-law of Alice, worked for many years as a professor of biochemistry at our Faculty of Agriculture. And Yehudit was not only an internationally acclaimed scholar, she was also a leader at our university, and among many other things, she was the first female faculty dean at Hebrew University when she was appointed in 1977 to the position of dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, and also served later as vice rector of the university. And Yehudit, who was very close to Alma and Alice, also founded the School of Food of Science and Nutrition, the Food Science and Nutrition, accentuating the importance of food in the study of agriculture. As mentioned, the Birks were very much interested in law and social policy as well, and our Faculty of Law is an internationally leading school, not only in theoretical academic research, but also in aspects of social change and the role of law in making our society a better place. And I'm grateful to the Birk family for generously donating 2 additional prizes given for the first time this year in clinical legal education. And as Faith already mentioned, over the years, the Big Prize has become a hallmark of excellence. No less than 7 of past winners were later elected as deans. And I would say that one of them also serves as a rector. And today, many of them are prominent scholars. And I think that in line with Alma and Judith's marks as women breaking glass ceilings in their fields, we are particularly proud that more than half of the prize winners over the years are women scholars who excel in research and leadership. And as I said, I'm grateful to the Birk family members who honor us today with their presence. And I would just finally say that I would like to congratulate the awardees of this wonderful recognition of their academic achievements. Congratulations to Liane, to Adi, to Ofer, Bana, Maayan, and Shir. And as noted, joining the family of Birk Prize awardees is not only an honor, but also a responsibility to continue to excel in your academic activity and contribution to society, the legacy of the larger Birk family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barak. I'd like to turn it over now, the screen, to Angela Camber, the daughter of Alma and Alice, and our donor, our supporter.
Well, Barak, you and I should have collaborated on what we were going to say. But good morning, everyone, and in particular to you, the Birk Prize winners and your families. And a heartfelt welcome to one of the greatest highlights of my year. My first thought about today was how on earth are we going to achieve the usual atmosphere of warmth and informality of this very special occasion on Zoom. Didn't take me long to decide that actually Zoom is not going to get in our way today. Obviously, I will not be handing you physically your prize and certificate, but I really hope that by the time we finish, we will all feel as if we've all been in the same room to honor and celebrate your outstanding contributions to your chosen fields of research and practice in law and agriculture. The 2 disciplines that, as we've heard, played a very important role in both my parents' lives. And as we've heard, my father was a very eminent lawyer, but his love of plants and flowers was really mainly an interest, because actually he wasn't the most successful gardener in the world, but his interest in growing things never really waned. And the point about growing things, this is really where the scholarships come in. This is what they loved. They loved to start something and just watch it grow. And I think that one of the main motivating reasons for my father to actually choose agriculture was his love, friendship, companionship, and admiration of Yehudit. Now, you probably know that the agriculture prizes are presented in Professor Yehudit Birk's name. And as we've heard, it is absolutely wonderful to have had in our family the first woman ever to serve as a dean at the university, and added to which she served as pro-rector. And as I've mentioned, these prizes are in Yehudit's memory. My mother's choice of law as the discipline she wanted to recognize was actually not a difficult one. She was a journalist and politician, and she spoke passionately and knowledgeably about justice, equality, and human rights. This all meant a huge amount to her. She sat in the House of Lords, from where she contributed with great commitment to the debate on the effect of law on social policy and vice versa. She also sat as a magistrate for many years, which gave her a real kind of practical insight into so many of the difficult issues that all governments have had to deal with. And that was important because she had that practical understanding. I know that both my parents would be absolutely delighted that this year, for the first time, we've added 2 prizes in clinical legal education. I am beyond thrilled. I think it's wonderful. So I hope you can begin to get a sense of the sort of people my parents were. The setting up of these scholarship awards was for them both very natural and very exciting. Exciting because they loved nothing more than to see people like you 6 succeed and develop in their chosen field. And I actually remember I was at the very first one. It was brilliant. They were enablers in the truest sense and derived huge pleasure from being able to reward and recognize excellence and innovation, which with great pride I'm of course doing today on their behalf. They would have been justifiably thrilled with the reputation their scholarship prizes has built up since 1993. That was when they were set up. That is 28 years. You 6 are now an integral part of the Birk Scholarship Superstar family. One of the things I love to do is to look at the list every year of past award winners to see if any of them will be playing a role in our annual prize giving ceremony. Today is no exception. We have Professor Daphna Lewison-Zamir, who was almost certainly presented with her award by my parents, and it's just possible that Yehudit may have presented our rector, Professor Barak Medina, with his. So there you are, you're all in very good company. The Hebrew University plays a very important role within the Birk family. Our association with it goes back over 80 years. My paternal grandfather established a scholarship fund before the Second World War, and my father became involved with the British Friends of the Hebrew University in the 1960s, and he went on to chair it for many years. He then became a governor of the university, and in the 70s was made an honorary governor, and he remained that until he died in 2004. And like his father before him, my father adored this institution and worked tirelessly as a committed friend and governor. He and my mother loved this and the annual governors' meetings, and in particular, what they loved probably the most was meeting the students and hearing about what they were doing. I want to finish my few words by leaving you with a comment I found in the 1939 to 40 annual report of the British Friends of the Hebrew University, and I quote, "It is a rare honor to link one's name permanently with something as imperishable as the Hebrew University, an honor and a privilege." On that note, let's get on with the important business of this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. That was beautiful. I just want to briefly explain what's going to happen. I'm going to call on each of the deans. We're actually going in alphabetical order. So I'm starting with agriculture and also Benny Chefetz, and followed by law and Professor Levinson-Zamir. Each dean will introduce his or her prize winners. The prize winner will then give a short presentation of their research, of their work. So Benny Chefetz, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Faith, and good morning and shalom, everybody. I will be very short in introducing the 2 recipients from the Faculty of Agriculture, Lianet and Adi. I will start with Lianet. So I'm very pleased to introduce Lianet Nude Garcia, who recently joined the Faculty of Agriculture, and tell you a little bit about her before she will tell you about her work. So Lianet joined the Faculty of Agriculture last year. Before, she was a postdoctoral fellow at the Department of Molecular Sciences at the Weizmann Institute, and she got her undergraduate and master degrees in Mexico and received her PhD degree in biotechnology from the National Laboratory of Genomics in Mexico. Her current research interests are understanding how new enzymes and metabolic pathways are evolved in forming bacterial biofilm. And in her work, together with the new students, she plans to engineer biofilm with new metabolic capacity, aiming at development and new microbial tools for bioremediation and for that will be used also for sustainable agriculture. So that was a brief introduction of Lianet, and now I'll move to Adi. So Adi Glass-Livne, who is working on her PhD at the Department of Plant Pathology and Microbiology, and under the supervision of Professor Saul Boardman and Dr. Yael Elman. Adi, in her work, is examining the innovative approach based on combination of two bacterial species that can promote plant growth. The idea here is to promote growth of agricultural crops, especially those are growing under salinity conditions similar to Israel and many other places facing water scarcity. And the big idea here is to create a green product that will enable a future productivity of agriculture under changing climate. So I really congratulate both of you for this award. Thank you.
And I guess now I will thank you, Benny, for the brief introduction. And I want to begin by acknowledging the Birk's family support to our university, enormous support to our university, specifically through the Words for Law and Agriculture, one of which I'm honored to receive today. Thank you so much. Last July, as Benny said, I joined the university's plant pathology and microbiology department to study and engineer bacterial biofilms. And I know bacteria, everybody knows, so I'm going to explain a bit about biofilms, but it's really not that complex. Biofilms are actually one of the most common states of bacteria in our planet. So pretty much they are everywhere. And they are a bit complex, but in fact, they are nothing more than bacterial communities. Some members of the community produce a substance, a sticky matrix, which keeps the community together, and it protects at least some of its members from the environment and the actual stress around. Also, this matrix allows the community to attach to surfaces, for example, so they can stay in the same place for long periods of times. Indeed, a biofilm of this kind of bacterial state is so resilient that they actually can be a problem if, for example, they grow inside medical devices or in our lung in unexpected ways, causing chronic infections. However, most biofilms are actually not bad, they are good. Biofilms, for example, colonize our body, which is the famous human microbiome. And through microbes or these biofilms attached to our gut, for example, is that we actually ingest and absorb pretty much all the nutrients we consume. So they are actually good and extremely relevant to human health. Similarly, plants also are colonized by biofilms. The root, the leaves, and biofilms are also in the soil. So bacterial biofilms are also extremely relevant to agriculture, and they also mediate plant health. So although biofilms are quintessential to the functioning of ecosystems, their complexity has prevented us from studying them in molecular detail before. And in molecular detail, I mean with atomic level resolution. However, this started to change in the last 10 to 15 years, mainly to the great advances in genetics and fluorescence and electron microscopy. So for example, today we can obtain the genome of full communities or full biofilms, but also observe them in detail in the laboratory, even in complex culturing conditions, like for example, directly in the plant root. And this is actually something really cool. I wish I would have actually, now I regret not choosing some pictures because they actually look really nice. But anyway, so using these novel technologies and the advances of science in the last decade, in our laboratory, we are actually studying how biofilms evolve and adapt at the molecular level, like enzymes and metabolic pathways, as Benny mentioned. So we study how these communities in front of novel stressful conditions survive and thrive. And we hope that the knowledge we generate will help us create better biofilms or probiotics for agriculture. Moreover, due to their resilience to stress and other characteristics that I will not bore you too much with today, biofilms are also used in biotechnological industrial processes. They can resist higher temperatures, for example, and acid conditions pretty well because they are tough. And so with this in mind, in our laboratory, we are also not just studying biofilms in relation to plants and soil and nature, but also engineering these biofilms to use them as bioremediation for plastic decontamination. So we hope altogether the efforts in studying and engineering biofuels will pave the way to a sustainable agricultural production, but also a cleaner planet. I want to finish by also thank my research group. We only started working together 6 months ago, but their contributions and building up of new and efficacious research group is already undoubtable. Thank you so much for your patience, hard work, and enthusiasm. It's really, really inspiring. And last but never least, I want to quickly acknowledge my family, which have always loved and support me. They show it today by waking up very early and see me here when it's actually midnight in Mexico and in Miami. So muchas gracias. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay, I guess this is my turn. I would like to share a short presentation, just one figure. Can I do it? Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my name is Adi, and I'm a PhD candidate at the Faculty of Agriculture. And I would like to thank the Birk family members for the right to receive this prize, and I'm very excited. And I would also like to add that the idea of the private catering is the small detail that make everything different. So thanks for that also. Okay, so I've just finished the first year of my PhD research under the co-supervision of Professors Saul Boardman and Dr. Yael Eltman. And I found out that both of them also received the Birk Prize some years ago. I belong to the Department of Plant Pathology and Microbiology, and I will shortly tell you about my research. Okay, so as you can see here in the figure, according to the official forecast, by the year of 2050, the world population is expected to grow. And along with that, the demand for food will increase, as forecast says, by 60%. So to meet the growing demand, it will be needed to use more chemical fertilizer and pesticides in agriculture, which on the other hand, can expand the environmental and health damage. Therefore, much effort is invested in finding alternative solutions for global food security and sustainable crop production. And one such effort is that has gained increasing attention in the last decades is the use of bacteria as biostimulator or biocontrol agents. We can say that those beneficial bacteria that we are adding to the plant are just like plant probiotics. In some cases, those bacteria were isolated from the plant itself or from the soil surrounding the plant. And indeed, previous studies resulted in formulation based on beneficial bacteria that are added to the plant and are in use in commercial agriculture. But till now, unfortunately, with limited efficiency. And now we understand that the main reason for that is usually due to the inability of the added bacteria to compete with local microorganism population in the field. So we are talking about competition. And in our study, we propose an innovating approach based on combination of two bacteria, different species, that possess the potential to promote plant growth. And we specifically selected bacteria based on traits that give them or may give them competitive advantage. It is based on empirical test or based on the genome analysis. And the main objective of the study is to examine the potential of combining two bacteria to additively promote growth of agricultural crops. And we are going to do it, we're going to test it especially under salinity, high salinity conditions, which are becoming more frequent as climate change conditions continue to develop. So I hope that in this work, we will create an added value to the global efforts to adapt agriculture to challenges of the future. And I would like to thank again to the Birk family and thank you all for listening.
Very good.
Thank you very much. We now officially turn over to Professor Levinson Zamir.
Hello everyone. Dear members of the Birk and Camber families, prize recipients, guests and friends. I'm delighted and honored to take part in the Ellis and Alma Birk Prizes ceremony because it is always a pleasure to celebrate academic excellence, which is the main goal of the Hebrew University and the Faculty of Law. And it is always an honor to thank the people whose generosity helps make this possible. As mentioned, over the years, the Ellis and Alma Birk Prize has benefited many of our young faculty and students who have gone on to lead remarkable careers. I am also very proud of how well the faculty has coped with the challenges of the coronavirus. Although the pandemic has severely restricted our mobility and disrupted our daily routines, it could not prevent us from studying, researching, and advancing intellectually. Each of our prize recipients today demonstrate the victory of the human mind and spirit over physical obstacles. So I will briefly introduce now Dr. Ofer Malkai and Ms. Bana Shugri, and then let them take the virtual stage and present their fascinating work. So first, Ofer. Dr. Ofer Malkai is one of the most gifted persons in the law faculty. His intellectual curiosity knows no bounds, as attested by the fact that before pursuing legal studies, Ofer has completed a PhD in physics and excelled in this discipline as well. Ofer's main field of interest is moral philosophy and the philosophy of law, with a focus on the philosophy of evidence law and legal procedure. His research combines diverse methodologies and perspectives, including analytic philosophy, empirical studies, complexity theory, and economic analysis. One of his recent articles employs insights from complexity theory to provide important recommendations for policymakers dealing with the corona pandemic. Ms. Bana Shugri is a promising PhD student in our faculty. Her dissertation explores an extremely important and timely topic that has not received attention to date: cause lawyering by Palestinian women in Israel. Bana has won prestigious scholarships and prizes, including the Dan David Scholarship in the field of gender equality. In addition to pursuing her doctoral studies, Bana is a leader in promoting equal opportunities for Arab students in our faculty. She was the founder and director of the Equal Opportunities Program for Arab students, and she teaches a course on Introduction to Israeli Law for first-year Arab students. So I will invite now Ofer and then Bana to present overviews of their work.
Thank you. Thank you, Daphna. Can I do a share screen? Can you see it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Okay, thank you, Daphna. I would like to thank the Birk and Camber family for this honor. As Daphna said, I started my academic education in the natural sciences. So I find the multidisciplinary nature of this event and indeed of the biography and activity of the Birk family particularly inspiring. and I'm very proud to be one of the recipients of the Birk Prize. My fields of research are indeed more in legal philosophy and evidence law, but also law and complexity. And complexity theory is not that life is complicated. It's a multidisciplinary theory that investigates the traits and behavior and properties of systems comprised of a large number of interacting components, such as the internet, financial markets, intersex colonies, or the brain. One major insight of this theory is that in a complex system, the multiple interaction among the components yield collective patterns at the macro level, so that the system as a whole is not simply an aggregation of the properties of its individual parts. This is what the Nobel laureate Phil Anderson famously described as more is different. In a recent paper with my co-author, Professor Michal Shur-Free from the Hebrew University, we use insight from complexity theory to examine how to improve the legal response to COVID-19. The pandemic triggered the adoption of unusual legal measures that restricts individual freedoms and raise acute legal questions. When dealing with this question, lawyers tend to apply conventional legal tools and doctrines, which are largely reductionist in the sense that they focus on the individual events or activity. And they implicitly assume a relatively stable reality. But pandemics are not reductionist phenomena, but rather a paradigmatic example of a complex system which exhibit collective behavior. Our research aims at exposing this gap between principle governing complex system and extant legal doctrines such as proportionality, equality, privacy, and required level of evidence. So let me briefly present the first issue. Generally, the judicial scrutiny of measures that restrict individual liberties uses the notion of proportionality, which implies that the steps imposed by policymakers must be proportionate when balanced against the social harm they seek to prevent. A related principle is maintains that when harming individual rights, the state must choose the least restrictive means, namely only the necessary and most lenient measures possible. Applying this principle to the COVID-19, some courts around the world decided that steps such lockdown, restriction on worship, or business closures were disproportionate and therefore illegal. However, those legal tests were crafted for ordinary circumstances where potential harms are predictable, relatively stable, or increase in a linear way. These assumptions are not suitable for pandemics, where at the very initial stage, the rate of diffusion is typically slow and quite stable, but at a certain point, when a social contagion takes off, it is expected to rise exponentially. As a result, the effectiveness of a measure taken to curb the pandemic is likely to decline with time. Thus, counterintuitively, the response to a pandemic may warrant what we call inverse proportionality tests, where strict measures like border closure could be more justified at an early stage when the actual harm is minor and its potential magnitude is uncertain, and less defensible at a later stage when the pandemic has already spread. Relatedly, the conventional legal assumption that least restrictive or second best measures would get us to a result that is close enough to the more restrictive measures might be false too. Adapting the very restrictive means may be orders of magnitude more effective than adapting slightly less restrictive means. To illustrate this point, you can see here a comparison between the measure imposed by Greece and Spain during the first wave of the pandemic. Both countries both countries started out with roughly the same number of cases. Within 2 weeks, Greece imposed most restrictive means, including full border closure and a full lockdown, while Spain applied a least restrictive, more gradual approach, escalating from a partial lockdown to a full lockdown after 4 weeks. Here we can see the discrepancy. After 30 days, the number of daily cases in Greece was less than 100, while the number of cases in Spain was in the range of tens of thousands. To sum up this point, unlike additive risks such as car accidents or sporadic terrorist attacks, in cases of pandemics which involve a multiplicative risk, the adoption of harsher means at the early stage of the pandemic should be considered proportionate and legal. I think I'm already out of time, so thank you.
Good morning, and thank you everyone for being here with us, especially my family. I wish my children could be here, but they're all at school. First, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Angela Camber, daughter of the late Ellis and Alma Birk, for their generous support that makes this prize possible. I was thrilled to learn of my selection for this honor, and I am deeply appreciative of your support. Please allow me also to thank my supervisor, Professor Mikhail Karayanny, for his unconditional trust, and thank many other past recipients of the Birk Prize, teachers, mentors, and colleagues for believing in me. When I started this interesting, complex research PhD journey, I was already an experienced cause lawyer and the legal director, supervisor of the International Human Rights Law Clinic in our Faculty of Law. Cause lawyering is a subfield of the legal profession that reveals the variety of roles lawyers play within a given legal system and society. It describes lawyers who use their legal skills to promote a particular vision of the good and just society. Cause lawyers consciously and deliberately dedicate their professional identity to promote ideals that transcend lawyer-client commitment. They use the law to expose and resist hegemonic systems of structural inequality, challenge the authority of the powerful and resourceful, defend the oppressed, and mobilize to leverage state power on behalf of the interests of the marginalized. Scholarly research conducted in the US 2 decades ago found that gender discrimination within the private legal sector resulted in women's overrepresentation within cause lawyering and the public field. Nevertheless, the feminization of this field is under research, and intersectional analysis of the legal profession is rare. Therefore, I chose Palestinian women cause lawyers in Israel as the subject of my doctoral research project. Nationality, gender, class, indigeneity, and religion are only some of the interlocking identities shaping Palestinian women's opportunities, challenges, and rights. Palestinian women lawyers in Israel are situated within contradictory personal and professional locations. While they constitute one of the most marginalized groups within the Israeli Jewish state society, subjected to ethno-national exclusion and discrimination, in addition to intra-group and state patriarchy. Their membership in the legal profession simultaneously situates them within an influential, privileged profession and the governing class. My research project is designed to bring their voices and professional experience to the forefront of the scholarly legal research, to unveil their significant contribution to the multi-layered legal struggles for the advancement of women and human rights in Israel. I am gathering and analyzing legal documents and have already interviewed 36 Palestinian women cause lawyers to learn about their professional experience in light of their interlocking identities. I found that despite very late entrance to the Israeli legal profession, the first started her practicing law in 1973, and she learned at the Hebrew University, and significant underrepresentation within it, we are only 2.5% of Israel's legal profession. The vast majority of Palestinian cause lawyers in Israel are women, but they are still positioned at the lower strata of the field. Thus, I ask whether, despite their position as outsiders within, their growing roles enables them to turn their overlapping forms of oppression into tools for resistance. By using grounded theory to analyze their voices, I wish to contribute to the development of a synergic analytical tool that better understands the roles played by women resisting systems of oppression. Thank you.
Very interesting.
So thank you very much, Ofer and Bana, for your very interesting presentations. I was delighted to hear, please could everyone mute themselves? I hear some kind of an echo.
Mute yourself, it's the iPad.
Okay. As I said, I was delighted to hear that as of this year, the Birk and Camber families have generously decided to donate a new prize, the Ellis and Alma Birk Prize in Clinical Legal Education. Now, our Clinical Legal Education Center plays an important role in the experience we provide our students, combining academic study with practical work. In our clinic, students learn how social responsibility is an integral part of the legal profession. I am particularly proud of the remarkable work that the clinics are doing during the pandemic. Immediately after the pandemic broke out, they have opened Facebook pages in Hebrew and in Arabic and taken care of hundreds of applications for assistance. Since then, the clinics have helped numerous people in need to realize their socioeconomic rights in areas such as housing and social security. And in this exemplary activity, two of our students have stood out, Mayan Dalal and Shir Malk. Mayan pursues a joint degree in law and social work, and I must say that this is one of our most demanding programs. Yet Mayan not only excels in her studies, but also finds time to make significant contributions in the Innocence Project Clinic. This clinic strives to prevent wrongful criminal convictions, such as through applications for retrials. And like Mayan, Shir too excels in her legal studies. Alongside their study for a bachelor degree, she is pursuing an LLM degree in an accelerated track. Shir performed outstandingly in the Clinic for Rights for People with Disabilities. This clinic provides important assistance to people with disabilities, such as legal advice and court representation. And in this way, the clinic promotes their integration in Israeli society. So I am proud to invite Ma'ayan and then Shir to share with us their inspiring work in the Clinical Legal Education Center.
Thank you very much, Professor Levinson-Zamir, and good morning, everyone. Let me begin by thanking the Birk family, which is responsible for this exciting and meaningful morning. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the supporting me and the clinic that operates under the auspices of the Hebrew University. I want to tell you about the Innocence Clinic, where I volunteered. The Innocence Clinic is a project intended to take care of requests from convicted people who claim their innocence. Every application is examined thoroughly, and after the clinic's lawyers are convinced that there is a cause to submit the application, the clinic provides the person legal assistance free of charge. I joined the clinic in the second year of my academic studies, and together with my two team members, we were appointed to work on a case of an East Jerusalem resident who was convicted of murder following a family dispute. It was a late-night shooting in 2009, and the victim did not belong to any of the conflicting families. We believe our appellant was convicted relying on questionable evidence. Our request presents the doubts arising from the case. We are claimed that the actual shooters belong to the same family with whom he had a dispute, and they framed him for a crime he did not commit to rescue themselves. This is despite the fact that as a part of a local reconciliation agreement, they have admitted to the shooting, claimed responsibility for the incident, and named the shooter. In addition, We raised doubt about the eyewitnesses' identification of the shooter. We claimed that it is impossible to recognize the shooter with such a poor lighting and with a considerable distance of the eyewitnesses from our appellant. To substantiate our claims, the clinic's member went out with an expert refugee camp chauffeur to simulate the condition prevailing there at the shooting time and to collect new testimonies. The clinic also hired an expert on family dispute in Arab society who wrote an opinion on the importance of the reconciliation agreements and its reliability. Throughout the year, my role was varied. I needed to learn the material, which included hundreds of documents. I also dealt with sorting and arranging the documents and collecting new material. I took part in strategic meetings in representing the main arguments in front of the public defense from the Department of Returning Law. In addition, I focused on writing claims for the legal part of the application and conducted in-depth legal research. At the end of last November, the clinic submitted to the Supreme Court the request for a retrial. These days, we are waiting for the Supreme Court to make its decision on whether to order a new trial for our appellant. A French philosopher once said, "A guilty man is punished as an example for the mob. An innocent man convicted is the business of every honest citizen." The last year in the Innocence Clinic, working on this case, turned this idea into reality. Thank you again for the stage and have a good day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shir Mark. First, I would like to thank the donors for their support. I'm deeply honored to have been selected for this award. Such a donation should not be taken for granted, and I really appreciate it. I will tell a little about myself. I started studying at the university about 4 years ago. During the last semester, I finished my bachelor degree. And hopefully by next semester, I will finish my master's. And next semester, I will start an internship at Erdin's law firm in Tel Aviv. The clinic I took part in is a clinic for rights of people with disabilities. For the past year, I've been working with another student on policy changes. Among other things, we work to promote the status of students with disabilities in institutions of higher education. In our research, we found the main barrier faced by students with disabilities. Among other things, we found that the population of students with disabilities is excluded, both budgets and data. At the end of the research, we drafted a letter to the Council of Higher Education in which we reflected the findings in our research and asked to consider things and change the existing situation. We also worked on cases of people with disabilities who contact the clinic, but unfortunately, I can't provide information about them. What I can say is that working at the clinic was very meaningful to me, and I felt like I was taking part in something big that really required change. The influence from the clinic continued to accompany me, and I also chose to write a seminar paper on the obligation of alimony for children with disabilities, in which I propose to change the law in a way that will promote the best of interest of the child and impose an alimony obligation on the parents. Actually, that's it. I would like to thank you again for your support. I hope that one day I will be in your place and would be able to provide the student with the same support that you provided for me. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Those were fascinating presentations, and as always, the Birks have chosen amazing prize winners. We now turn the floor over to Angela Camber.
What can I say? Wow. Every year, my breath is taken away by the sheer brilliance, commitment, and enthusiasm of our prize winners. Today has almost left me speechless, which is actually quite a rarity for me. Thank you all for explaining your work with such clarity and such enthusiasm. I just want to know much more about all of it. I'm only sorry that we won't be able to chat face to face, which is what I love to do. We usually have a delightful reception after the proceedings, which enables us to meet each other properly. And it also enables me to meet the winners' families, which is something I absolutely love doing. So I hope this small basket of food that I hope you will all have received will go a little way to help you to continue to celebrate with your families. And I really want to thank you, Faith, for making all of this happen. I really am very grateful to you, and also for coordinating everything you have done for today. It's been wonderful. It's been absolutely seamless. And I have to say, I actually think today is probably the first time I've ever enjoyed any sort of event on Zoom. I don't usually get on very well with Zoom, and it doesn't get on very well with me. And you really have made it very special, and for me, very memorable, all of you. And finally, I have to thank Nigel Solomon, CEO of the British Friends. As always, Nigel, you've put up with all my emails and calls and naggings with your usual patience, charm, and humor. I know how hard you work, but you always have time to answer whatever I ask or query that I throw your way. So thank you. And today really has been very special. I hope to goodness next time we'll be face to face, but again, many congratulations to all you extraordinary prize winners, and hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Joining Angela with wishes truly for next year in Jerusalem with Corona times behind us. For the final closing remarks, we turn to our very own Nigel Solomon, and I'm very upset to hear that you have time. I thought it was only for us that you always had time to answer our questions. Nigel.
Well, I'm almost speechless, but not quite, and I'm disappointed there isn't a basket of food here for me, but I'm going to make myself a nice cup of tea after this terrific ceremony. Thanks to so many people, first of all, to my team in the background, Alison, Simon, and Jill. They're the ones who make everything happen, and Angela, not me. I'm very blessed by a wonderful team. To the prize winners, and I'm very sorry, Adi, I forgot to put your certificate up on screen. You are truly impressive, you are worthy, and there's pressure on you now to go on in the fine tradition of Hebrew University graduates to do what you're doing. It's extremely impressive. I want to thank Faith and the deans, the rector, for your tremendous support today. You're very busy. I know the last year has been something very challenging, but I understand the Hebrew University in its true tradition has not missed a beat. Today has been a wonderful Zoom session. And to you, Angela, to Richard, to your family, you have shown once again multi-generational support for an extraordinary institution. I think we're all very grateful to you, your parents, and your grandfather Barnett, am I right, Barnett Birk?
Yeah.
For what was vision. Yesterday evening, talking of vision and continuity, yesterday evening, Jill and I gave a Zoom presentation to a small community in London, and it didn't go well. All my screen sharing completely failed, and we were forced to speak rather than show most of the movies we wanted to show. But there was a benefit in doing that, because the benefit was, as I was telling the story, the extraordinary story of this extraordinary institution, which normally in history would have failed years ago, but on the contrary is now a leading institution across the world. I was looking at the faces of our guests, and they were really inspired. They were genuinely moved and excited, not because of what I said, but because of the story they heard. And I think continuity is what they were excited about, that the institution has continued despite adversity. The students continue to deliver wonderful things, both to the state of Israel, all its citizens, and globally, that our academic staff are so committed to the institution. But we're blessed, and this is my final comment, with the most wonderful supporters such as you, Angela. But the focus today must go on to the next generation. And I look to Chloe and Alice and Tom and say, the baton is now with you. We look forward to your support, and we look forward to joining you and everybody next year in Jerusalem. Thank you once again to everybody. And may we all be well and safe and see each other soon.
Amen. And with this, we have formally concluded the ceremony. Thank you so much to Angela and family, and to all of the prize winners, the deans. Thank you all so much for giving of your time to share with us this meaningful ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It really has.
Thank you. Thank you.
You.
Hello.